Hey folks, it's Bearded Appliance Repair. Got another one for you. It's a Speed Queen commercial dryer. This dryer is a coin operated dryer, but if you have a Speed Queen that's residential at home, the only thing that's different is the way you turn it on and off. This one here, you put, I think it's $1.50. I think it's set to $1.50. You put some quarters in it, and you can start her up. But if you're a technician like me, there's another way you can actually get into it, and that's probably what we'll start with. I'll start with showing you guys how to start this dryer if you guys need to check some things. After we get through that, we'll get into checking the element and all the thermostats involved with the heating. So we'll get into that as well in this video. So bottom kick plate, there's two 5/16 screws. You get those two out, and then you'll swing it up, and she'll fall right down. And then if you look in that bottom left-hand corner, and if you look through it, you'll see the element directly. You'll see wires going to it. You will see the element and the thermostats. So we're going to get down here, and we're going to check it out for you. It's pretty easy to get out. I got a 12-inch extension for my drill. I got it for something else, but it works perfect to get these elements out too. You'll see it here in a few, but there's the element right there on the back wall. And you see a 5/16 screw on the left and a 5/16 screw on the right. You can either test it with it installed, but it's much easier to test everything with it uninstalled. So if you take out those two 5/16 screws, that element will drop out of there, and you can pull the element all the way out with the wire still connected to it. That's the beautiful thing about this. So yeah, here's my long extension with my 5/16 on it. We're going to work on getting these screws out and that element out. Now when you get to this point, you'll pull her out and you'll feel her drop, and you see those white tabs coming out. That's what actually holds the coil in. It's actually catching on the inside of that metal, so you got to push it back a little bit so she'll fall for you. and then you can just pull her all the way out and test what you need to test. And that's the beautiful thing about these Speed Queens. You don't have to do everything with it being back there, because it's not the easiest thing trying to test these thermostats with one hand, and having to put two leads on two separate positions. So yeah, when I got this thing out, I was under the assumption that the heating element could have been bad, but I was just looking at the element looked good, so then I had to bring out the meter and actually get a good reading on it and see what was going on. The two black wires on the top and the bottom, those go to your element. I think they run around 15 ohms or so, but if you read continuity, you won't get continuity on them at all. And then boom, we got continuity there, so we know that element's good. And we'll do this thermostat here, and then the high limit here. All of them test good. So yeah, make sure you guys do these diagnoses before you guys go and order parts and stuff, because you may be ordering something you don't need. It may be a customer instruct, or you may need to refer to your use and care manual on how to use this thing, or it may be an electrical problem. But anyways, this element tested good with all these thermostats, so we're going to put this thing back in and run it and make sure everything else is okay, because whenever this thing's running, you want the heater to come on. For the first round, I mean, it takes a good while. I mean, the first round of heat will be the longest round of heat, but it may run 5-6 minutes or so. Then it'll cut off for a minute, maybe 2 minutes, and then it'll run again for another 4 or 5 minutes or so, and then cut off. As long as your element is cutting on and cutting off, that's what you need. And you can see I'm having a little trouble getting that element back into place, and those little clips that hold on the coil on the other side, they just get in the way. So you just gotta find the sweet spot and push it up. But once you get it into place, take your long extension like I got. If you got one, it makes it a lot easier, believe me. But anyways, get those screws in and your element's back installed, so you can turn this thing on and test her. This is what I was using to get that 5/16 screw out. A long 12-inch extension, and then my drill. Again, like y'all saw at the beginning of this video, you got that gray wire with the yellow stripe and the white wire with the red stripe. You jump those out and it'll act like it's putting quarters into the machine. You got to do it a number of times. You'll hear a long audible beep, and then you can start this thing up. And then you'll see whenever we start it, we'll get down there and check that element out, and you'll see her start to glow. Alright, you can see her start to glow, and this is a shortened version of it, but you'll see after a while the element will cut off. It'll go dim just like that, and then after a while it'll come back on. And y'all will see that here in a few, but as long as your element is cutting on and cutting off and cutting back on, you know everything's working properly. So that's really the only thing I was verifying whenever I was checking this thing out. Can't tell you what was wrong with it, other than maybe the customer was using delicates and it wasn't giving it much heat to work properly, or a breaker got turned off and somebody reset it, or I don't know, could be a number of things. But that's why you test stuff. You go out there, you test the element, and if everything's working, it saves the customer some money. Maybe they learned something. Maybe you guys learned something. But that's pretty much it. Again, if you guys need the element or anything below, or if you have any questions on anything, give me a like, subscribe, and I appreciate y'all watching.